Hello and welcome to this video. Now we have upcoming changes because everyone was up in arms about certain things that they totally destroyed with over nerfing, and apparently because of the nerfs now they can buff stuff, which they literally have just said that they're not going to change how things work and everything in the middle of a league. I guess technically they can empower things, but yeah, like it's a good thing, but they keep swapping and changing over whether they're actually going to do something or not. I think this is just to make people. You'll probably see in the next week that GGG's awesome, GGG's listening to us, GGG is making good changes and all that sort of videos, so it probably worked in their favor doing this sort of stuff. This doesn't help at all. Well, it helps a little, but it doesn't help the core issue of the rares being 50 billion meters away and then you got to spend 10 minutes running to each corner. So now in this video I'm going to actually explain why I don't think Path of Exile 2 anytime soon will be a good Path of Exile game, or possibly not even a Path of Exile game. Now, we'll get into it. Got a couple of points that I'll cover. One being the vision that seems to be, it's either fractured between the shot callers, or people have power to make their changes over other people's wants, or the player base wants this, but they have the overall say. Similar to things are the ascendancies. AF Mark has his way, they're never going to be able to be reformed. The combat style of shield attack style, leading up to building up power and then big slam or something, which doesn't really suit the pace of the game. Even while we're moving slow, the game is still quite fast as far as monsters trying to get you and everything. So that sort of roleplay ain't going to work in the current game. And then on top of that, the sort of, they want, certain shot callers want you to feel like the character is you, you're the character, you're doing everything to make the character better because it's you. You're going to spend a lot of time perfecting this character just for, in 3-4 months, that character to be deleted virtually, and then you play the next league. Obviously it goes standard, but if you play league to league, then virtually it's deleted and you're not going to touch it again unless you want to go back and see what you did, what changes have happened or whatever based on your previous character. So that's one reason why Path of Exile 2 might not be a good Path of Exile game, because the people in charge aren't on the same page towards the vision, and they don't seem like it's going to change. I think the player base is going to have to change their mind for them if it gets to that point. The player base either being fed up with forcing to do the campaign every time we want to re-roll the exact same class but change the ascendancy. It probably will be okay until like launch, and then it will get to a point where the player base just says, okay, this is getting ridiculous. We need to be able to change our ascendancies because this one looks good. You did this, did that. It is actually trash. Now I need to actually re-level the entire new character up to level whatever. Probably 75, 80 by the time you get the sort of in a position where it's like, this isn't turning around. And then try to do the campaign again, which is slow, boring, and apparently people, it's our fault because we either don't have a correct gear, the monsters have too much life, based on the fact that we don't have correct gear. And then there's not enough shiny objects for us to look at or interact with. So that's mainly why these changes happened so quickly, is because the player base got really upset with the fact that it pretty much was put back on us that it's our fault that the areas are so big and feel so big and slow because we're not actually playing the game as efficiently as we should be. But yeah, whatever. Things are changing because obviously it's the fact that the areas are ridiculously big for no reason and with no content. Like, there's no reason for it to be bigger except for the fact that it's an open world-ish size, but they've already said it's never going to be an open world game, which means you need to streamline the actual campaign and everything and all the maps, so it's not open, it's closed. But yeah, whatever. But another reason why I don't think it's going to be a Path of Exile game possibly is the role play sort of thing. The only way to actually make your character feel like, okay, I'm choosing this class to use these weapons, these skills, to get these bonuses. That's not Path of Exile. Being able to use any weapon, any skill on any class has been the core principle of why Path of Exile is good. As far as new players going, I can use any skill I want, I can use any class I want, and except for the ascendancies and a few things depending on what you go, I can do whatever I want. The only way they can do the role play sort of thing they want is lock the certain weapons to certain classes, lock the skills to those weapons, and then give inherent bonuses to the classes so you actually pick it. Say you pick the Marauder, the Marauder, the Warrior, because I assume they're still going to add the Marauder. So the Marauder and the Warrior, and maybe half and half Templar, gets like extra strength every time you boost your strength. And the Templar gets like half as much bonus int and strength or something. Like, that sort of change is going to have to happen to get that. I want to play this character because I want to do this, and I want my strength to be double because I'm going to make a tanky guy with these inherent bonuses, which they would then have to add some sort of bonus on top of that, easier ways to get endurance charges or power charges or frenzy charges for the only those classes to get. No other class gets it, so you play those classes for those bonuses. That's the only way that that vision happens. Whether that's going to be a good game or not, or it's just going to be like a Diablo 2 2.0 or 3.0, because Diablo 2 Resurrection was pretty much 2.0. Not necessarily going to be bad, not necessarily going to be good, don't know. It's just not going to be Path of Exile. It's going to be a whole different game, which could be good. I don't know. Depending on how they implement it, depends on how it actually all works. Now, Path of Exile issues, obviously. They clearly either read really bad PR books, or they have a really bad PR people on their staff telling them the most blanket textbook sort of stuff. I'll go over what. Okay, so basic sort of media business to consumer sort of thing. Never admit that you made a mistake. If you need to make a mistake, show that you are come across as if you're human, you're just one of the people, you make mistakes, it's human to do. Come across as a genuine human. Another one is whenever you do changes that are going to be received 50-50, say it's either because the consumer asked for it, or it's to help the consumer, or something for the consumer. In the game, it would be the player base asks for this buff or this nerf or this or that, or in the hope of balance they nerf all this and buff this sort of thing. Obviously not that specific, but just giving a general case. And then also never give exact timelines. Always leave wiggle room, and then if those timelines are being pushed, start adding in words like we are hopeful, we are likely is a bad word to use actually, that is too confirming. You don't use likely if you're trying to be a business to consumer, if you can have it. Possibly, looking to, we are hoping, we are trying our best, things like that, to actually, when you either know you're never going to meet the target and you know that the target's actually going to be completely down the line late, like 3 months, or you're not sure, so you give out a lower expectation, and then the expectation is so low that if you actually meet those dates, then everyone just pat you on the back saying how awesome you are because you met these expectations and you must have worked really, really hard to meet them. So that's pretty much what GGG has been doing. Then all they need to do is come out and just say the truth. ABC, ABC, ABC. The player base has had enough, really. The double talk, the saying this, then this happened, saying which is not what they said would happen. The player base believes you're saying this, but you're actually meaning that, but you don't actually correct the player base because you don't want to actually upset the player base. Like, GGG needs to just stop, say, yeah, like a timeline for 3.26. They wouldn't have started till 0.2 launch, if at all yet. They have stated that they're never going to start until 0.2. They should give, okay, we're working all our people on it, and we believe in 2 months we'll be able to get it out. And then, after a month, if it's not looking so well, say, it's not working out so well, it might take another month. Player base will be like, oh, okay. Not a week before that it's meant to be out, you then go, yeah, it might be like 3 month delay, sorry. That's why the player base has just had enough. The fact that all the nerfs came in, the game's so slow, and everyone's having difficulty with this, that, the other thing, the player base pretty much had enough, and it didn't really matter what the final straw was. The final straw just happened to be some of the stuff that's wrong with the patches, and then they came out with that, it's pretty much your fault that the areas are too big, because we don't think the areas are too big, don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, they pretty much had it coming, because of they were building up, and then the player base just had enough and just let loose on everything that they had a problem with. But yeah, whether Path of Exile 2 becomes like Diablo 2.5, 3.0, sort of inherent bonuses towards different classes are locked behind weapons and all that, I don't dislike that idea. It would be a different game. It wouldn't be Path of Exile, and it certainly wouldn't be Path of Exile 2. But I wouldn't be objecting to that sort of drastic change if they want us to feel like a role-playing thing. Like, we are playing the campaign, we are playing this character, we are picking one character to do for the entire league, and we're trying to just max out that character. Obviously people, content creators and stuff will do multiple characters, but you pick one, you do it for the entire league, and you spend that entire league just invested in that character. I feel fine with that. It's not where it currently is. Path of Exile 1 it's generally not where that is. It's pretty much whether you actually play that way or not, whether you're totally casual or not. Path of Exile 1, you generally play 2-3 characters over a 3-4 month period, and with Settlers of Kelgo, you probably played like 6 or 7 characters. But yeah, so some of the changes that might have to happen that wouldn't make it Path of Exile, I'm not objected to. The fact that their PR stuff is so textbook rubbish needs to stop. And then the idea needs to be, okay, this is the idea. Path of Exile 2 will be this. Players either get on board or you're not going to like the game. I think the whole player base will be fine with that. This is the vision, this is where we're going. If you don't like it, then unfortunately, the game's probably not for you. Path of Exile 1 still exists, and eventually we'll get updates in a regular fashion once Path of Exile 2 sort of gets regular updates efficiently. But let me know what you think, and whether you think Path of Exile 2 is going to be Path of Exile 1.5, Path of Exile 2 is going to be fixed dramatically somehow over the next couple of years, that it just turns into one of the best ARPGs and all that. But let me know what you think, and I'll catch you next time, and hopefully Path of Exile 2 is treating you well. Goodbye.